Hi guys, welcome to our show, James Talks Football. Of course, I'm your host tonight, James Alexander. And tonight we have a very special show. And today it is going to be very impromptu because we are not working to any script. So we're going to be watching the game Germany against Japan. It's live on television. But at the same time, we're going to have two good friends of mine and also two avid football fans. We're going to be giving you some commentary, and also we're going to be talking about lots of other things, our experiences of watching football, national teams, previous World Cups, and the like. Okay, so without much ado, I would like to bring our guests into the show. So Bridget, can we cue Zach and Owen?
Trainers. What I don't have.
Hello. Okay, hi guys, how's it going?
Yeah, not so bad.
Okay,
right,
so we've got two top guys here. So Zach, I've known a long time. We're just going on a decade now. So we used to be neighbours not so long ago. And Owen is like a top guy who we often see down at the Dungeon, which is like a popular pub, bar with expatriates and locals in downtown Chongqing. So first of all, I'd like to give you an opportunity just to introduce yourself to the audience. So perhaps, Owen, would you like to take it away?
Yeah, I'm Owen. I'm one half of a podcast called the China Podcast. If you check it out on whatever you want to check it out on. I do stand-up comedy a little bit in around Chongqing here, so in Nods, in the Dungeon, like was said. So part of the Chongqing Comedy Club. Check that out because it's really funny. We do skits and stuff online, and we do stand-up comedy, and we do just silly songs there and everything. There's all sorts. It's cool. It's fun. It's interesting. Interesting in a time of lockdown.
All right, cool to have you with us. And Zach, can you take it away?
I'm 10 years in Chongqing. We used to be neighbors before in the old neighborhood in Palm Springs, back in the old days. Since in that time, I do a lot of running, trail runs as well as road running. And we're not doing that. We were playing soccer in Ubay back in 2014, and more recently I've switched to running. But soccer is still my main game. I sometimes forget to call it football because I teach English, but you never know. So it can be cool both. It's a great place to be. And we're gonna enjoy this cracking game, Japan versus Germany. I really fancy Japan to score at least one goal, and for me it's going to be Takamuni, his Minamo, 17 goals in 44 appearances. So
So what are your predictions for the game? Actually, you have to say. In China, if you want to, technically, they do have betting here, but we do have something called the sports lottery. I don't know if you guys have, had a double with that. So, kind of at random, I've gone for a 3-1 win for Germany tonight. On the balance, the team sounds reasonable, but after the Argentina game yesterday, you never know.
So it's funny you should say the sports lottery. Funny you should say the sports lottery because back in 2010, do you remember the World Cup in 2010?
Sure, I remember I watched that when I was in Korea. That was before I could come back to
Right, so 2010, where was that? That was...
South Africa.
With South Africa, yeah. So it was like an hour off of English time, wasn't it? It was like an hour or two off of English time.
I think if you fly there from England, you have to go kind of direct south.
Yeah. So it was like an hour difference from this. It was like an hour difference from this. So whereas we'll get an early game at 6 o'clock, the early game in 2010 in China, it was about 7 or 8. Okay, it was about 7 or 8, and I had just arrived in China, and I couldn't figure out. Like back in the days, if you went to a small city in China, and I was in a small city, tiny little place called Ganyu, just on the border of Shandong. There's about 500,000 people there. Now, of those 500,000 people, I don't think one of them went to a bar. Don't think one of them went to a bar. There was one foreigner in that city, and it was me, right? And it was previous from having two foreigners in the city, which was me and the guy that I came with. And the other guy just left. He left. He went off to Canada. He just like he couldn't take it. He just gone. And so it was left with me in this city for the 2010 World Cup, and I couldn't find a place, a bar, anywhere. And this guy in the school, he said, "Don't worry. All you have to do is walk out onto the streets when the games are on." And I went, "What?" And he goes, "Yeah, walk out onto the streets when the games are on." And I was going, "You're mad." And he says, "Do it. Just do it." He says, and I did. And outside of the sports lotteries, okay, because it was a flat, it was Jiangsu, it was the north of Jiangsu, it was just flat. It was like the start of the Shandong plain, right? And everything is all down one road. There was about 4 sports lotteries on this one road. And outside the front of each of them, they all had big screens and they all had stools, and they were all sitting there watching the World Cup, and they stayed there all night. It was crazy.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, I have lots of memories about the 2010 World Cup. I'm just going to go through some of the comments first. So, a warm welcome to Han Tua. Okay, so he's a very regular watcher of iChongqing, regular follower.
Yeah.
So, a warm welcome to you. So, thank you for joining us. Also,
Thank you.
Utan Chand. Okay, hi to you. So, Sandeep Kumar Prajapati. Okay, so welcome to our show. And yeah, the final comment here we got so far from Huang Chua is the famous Zuzuvela. So, Zach, what was your impression of those things in 2010?
Well, I'm not sure 2010, but something that recalled me back in Chongqing is 2014. That was an important year when I saw Germany play in the World Cup. That was staged in Korea, South Korea at that time, and I was out in what's now Babinlu in a bar there, which was the first time I ever watched a game in a bar. It was more like a discotheque, but playing football. It was quite a bizarre and weird experience, psychedelic at one point. And it's Japan. Japan's rival then was South Korea, who was Germany.
It's 1-2 Japan. Always it's offside.
Yeah, it was offside. Oh, yeah. So yeah, you said Germany had been humbled before by South Korea, if you remember, in 2014. So I'm hoping this history repeats itself while I'm watching this game with you today.
Yeah, so I remember in 2010, I remember with the Zuzuvela, when I watched the opening game, I watched at home at the time I was living in a city called Guri, just outside of Seoul on the eastern side. And I think the opening game was South Africa against Mexico. And I remember the Zuzuvela. And I hadn't heard about it before that. So I just remember, like, as soon as the game started, we just had this, constant, noise going on. And I thought, yeah, what the hell is that? And to me, it just sounded like an angry swarm of bees. And I absolutely hated them. But for some reason, I don't know if you've got any viewers in South Africa, but I don't know. It'd be interesting to know your take on them.
Well, they got really quite popular in other events. And they were so irritating that they were banned in some of the football games in England at that time. I remember post the World Cup. Oh, something to say.
I love those Venezuelans, though. I think they're cool. I love anything that makes noise at the football. Anything, because it adds to the game. When people are loud, or somebody has a drum, or somebody has cymbals, or an entire 50,000 people has Venezuelas, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Because like the South African World Cup, that's just unbelievable. Like the Mexico in '86, right? Mexico in '86, people started doing the Mexican wave.
Right.
Where would you be without it? Where would you be without the Mexican wave? The Mexican wave is brilliant.
Yeah, they caught on in England as well. I mean, before I came back to, before I moved to China in 2003, I used to watch a lot of the Leicester City games. So I used to have a few season tickets there. Yeah, and, every now and then, they'd be like chanting, I think at the time there was a manager called Mickey Adams, and every now and then the crowd would say, Mickey Adams, give us a wave or something like that. And he was starting off all the way around the stadium. Yeah, so that was really funny.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
In between our chatter, Japan just put the ball in the net, but it was offside.
You're a good bit behind.
That was a nice finish.
You're a good bit behind.
I'm a good bit behind. So I'm going to catch about the other bit. So it's quite.
He's
exactly.
He's first.
He's first.
You're last.
Yeah, exactly. Like
you're last.
So it'll be James first. You're next, and I'll be the last one cheering the goals.
We'll be doing a Mexican wave of cheers. We'll be like, yeah.
Yeah, so Tifu was in the Mexican wave band. Isn't the Mexican wave banned in some countries? I've never heard that. So, what do you think?
Could it be?
No.
I'm not sure about that one.
Maybe in some stadiums, though. Like, there are some stadiums that are really steep. Like,
Could be.
you can imagine,
it could be like an issue with standing because, of course, the stands where people actually stand up. I think they were like phased out, late 1980s or something.
Yeah.
In
like
England, it might be an issue related to that.
Like up the back end of Croke Park, you're kind of off. It's that sort of angle, It's that sort of angle, and you all have seats and all, but you're so far up that the person in front of you is kind of waist height. It's weird, and you can just imagine just toppling over. Like, but if you fall, it's you yourself. No one, everyone else is so far apart; they'll be able to avoid you.
Yeah, so what else do we have? Hantois. So the best final was 1970 at the Maracana, so in Brazil, between Brazil and Italy. So that was kind of about 10 years before my time. I mean, I suppose I didn't really kind of get into watching football until I remember the first World Cup I remember paying attention to was USA 1994. And I think in that final, it was also Brazil and Italy, wasn't it? And I remember Roberto, but I actually still remember watching Roberto Baggio miss his penalty live on TV. Yeah,
I watched that live too.
Yeah,
man. Did you watch that, Zach?
Oh, that was the most excellent one. But the only thing is that the expectation.
That final was terrible. The final was terrible. It was 0-0. It was just 120 minutes of defenders. It was deep bananas.
Yeah, it was the classic.
The Italian defense playing against a defensive strategy on that day that didn't work out.
Yeah.
Came down to things,
Yeah. What was the guy's name? The manager of the head coach of Brazil. What was his name? Pereira, was it? Was it Pereira?
Pereira, I think you're around there, but it is Pereira.
Yeah, I think it was Pereira. But they went into Brazil went into that game with some amazing forwards, and then they just sat. They just sat and did nothing until they brought on a young lad. They brought on a kid. I can't remember his name. It was Vivinho or something like that. They brought on a kid, and he was the only person that actually did anything for the whole game. And this is Brazil you're watching. I didn't like that game, and it's etched into my memory because I loved Baggio. And him missing that penalty was just like, nah, that game's rubbish.
Finley here after that, it's kind of like he lost his fear of missing them because apparently he scored loads of penalties after that, after missing the penalty in that final. Yeah, I mean, if you go onto YouTube or something, you can find all of these what do you call it? The collection videos.
Same thing with Saka.
Penalty after penalty.
The same thing with Saka for England. You seen Saka for England?
Yeah, he
You
was
know-
like really confident, wasn't he? So it's kind of like if you like really mess up sometime, then it kind of gets rid of that fear for you, doesn't it?
So Saka missed the penalty for England, right? But then the following time that Arsenal got a penalty, he took it, he scored. Next one, took it, scored. Next one, took it, scored. Next one, took it, scored. It was like it made him a better player. It was like missing that penalty made him realize the importance of everything he does. Saka is an unbelievable player. He's an unbelievable player, and England have a real chance of winning the World Cup. They have a real chance.
Yeah, and he banged in some great goals for England against Iran. So really enjoyed that game. It was a lot more one-sided than I was expecting because, kind of in my mind, I suppose, because I kind of grew up in the 90s, that Iran was kind of like a strong team at that time. They had like Ali Daei and all that. So I think they did well in some of the World Cups. The game it was 2 days ago was the first time I've seen them play in like many years.
Yeah. Well, England are coming off was it semi-final, final, and now this. So the last World Cup was a semi-final. The European Championships, it was a final, and now this one they start first game they won 6-2. Like, I have to fancy him. I have to fancy England. I have to think England's going to win it.
I think they've got a chance. I mean, for me, it's really between maybe England, Argentina, maybe Brazil. I think it's going to be one of those three.
Yeah, because the final I want is James and Owen. What tops are you guys wearing? Should I take that?
Okay, so we have the national football tips, national football tops. So the question from Tifru. Yeah, okay, so this is like an away England top I bought many years ago, but yeah, just really like it. I mean, it's especially been hanging up in the cupboard, year after year, so it's just nice to get it out and show it off a little bit. Yeah, and of course, Owen has his Irish national top on.
Well, it's a little bit different. It's a little bit different, and it's a good spot. It's a good spot, lad. All right, so this is not an Irish jersey, but I had to counteract the Englishness, right? Had to counteract the Englishness. Now, one English person, that would warrant an Irish jersey, right? But two English people, you have to bring out the Irish jersey plus bonus edition, right?
Yeah.
This is the Irish jersey plus bonus edition. And if you can see here, inside this, there is a face.
Oh yeah.
Right? Can you see that face?
Yeah. I didn't notice that. Who's that face of?
That right there, that's the big man. All right? That's the big man. That's Michael Collins. Okay? That's Michael Collins. And Michael Collins was the man who was fighting England in the War of Independence and was the man who signed the treaty to create the Republic of Ireland. And it is 100 years since this man was shot on his side of the Civil War. And this is Michael Collins, and this is super special Irish jersey, mega +1. To cancel out all negative English effects. Just to show that,
Well, on the theme of the England team being well, and also, as you said, to cancel England out, one of the difficulties any team has when they face England is you've got like 6 top players. Kieran Trippier, you've got and he's doing really well. We've got Phil Foden. We've got Bellingham. All of these guys are at least in the top 15 of the world rankings for each of their positions.
Yep.
They're young. They've got a lot of energy. And they don't know other players. They're going with no fear. They're just going to go straight with raw talent. That's because people thought Iran was going to be a tough work, but we made it an easy job. So actually, I think it's a credit to England that they showed their steel.
Absolutely. Yeah. They weren't in the best of form coming up into this game as well. I think they lost like a few friendlies, didn't they? And I remember they lost that. Not Europa League, it was our Nations League game at home. They lost twice to Hungary, didn't they? Home and away. So,
but the thing is,
back in form.
But the thing about England is, right? The thing about England is they're always liable to play Costa Rica or play Tunisia or you know, they may have won against Iran, but Alexei Lalas might show up for America. You know, like, there is a serious chance that England lose the next 2 games. As good as they are, they can mess it up. Like they can, and they have Harry Maguire. Maguire at the back.
Slabhead. We used to call him at Leicester.
If there's one player that the other teams just need to go, right, every ball goes to him. Every ball goes to him. Like
we bought Harry Maguire from Leicester on the premise he's going to do miracles at United. Now, if you look at the history of this season, how many goals has he conceded? Okay, I can count more with my fingers.
He hasn't played. He got dropped. He's played 4 games. He's played 4 games out of 15.
Oh, that's it. You can't make
they lost those opening games, didn't they, of the season?
I think Leicester made a profit of that.
And Brighton, wasn't it? And then he got dropped. But it's really, he seems to play terribly for Manchester United, but he always seems to bring it on for England.
He hasn't played. Like Manchester United are the form team in England right now. You know, there's 3 teams in England right now. There's 3 teams in England, and the 3 teams. They're Newcastle, United, and Arsenal. All right. The last 4 games, City have dropped points. Right, they've dropped points in 3 of the 4 games. Okay, Newcastle won 5 in a row. Man United, they're won 5 in a row as well. Arsenal won 4 out of 5. They're the 3 form teams. The players, like the only reason they're United are that good is because they dropped Maguire.
But looking at their form, that sounds reasonable because they dropped him after the first 2 games, didn't they? And then after that, their form really picked up. Yeah, so we've got some interesting comments again. If we have a look at the comment section, so let's go through these. So Zach, we've got Tiff asking where your England top is, where your national top is.
It's a wee bit cold. It's a wee bit cold. That's what it is. It's cold. Okay. So my missus has said you got to wear a jacket, so I wore a jacket instead. But I do have a point about.
I have to say, I'm scared of the cold over here.
It's about 15 degrees now, so I decided to wear a bit more.
But I have to say, if you grew up in England or I'm sure Ireland as well, in the 80s and 90s, you're not going to be like scared of the cold.
No, not at all. No. But,
I remember, as a kid, depths of winter. It doesn't matter if it was blowing a gale, and strong wind and rain. We had to go out in our shorts and sports top and play rugby or football or whatever. So bad weather, bad winter weather was never an excuse.
Exactly. I have to ask Owen a question. Okay, Conor Gallagher, he's on the England squad. Okay, what do you think of him as a player?
Conor Gallagher.
Yeah,
Conor Gallagher is good. Conor Gallagher is kind of Aaron Ramsey like. He's very similar sort of player to Aaron Ramsey. Nothing wrong with Aaron Ramsey, but the problem with Aaron Ramsey is you have to play 2 other midfielders. Gallagher will only work in the midfield 3. He won't work in the midfield 2. And that's a bold claim, but that's because he's not going to work back. He's not going to defend.
Fair enough. Well, I want to say one thing though. Osaka came out of nowhere from Arsenal. I'm sure he came out as a history of that, where he developed his football. But he's a legend now. I mean, the youngest guy, 17 and a bit, I think. I'm not sure. No, I'm not sure. But he's
he's 20 now. He's 20 now.
It's an amazing player. And it gives me, it's kind of inspirational to see some young player play out of his league. I'm sure he's in his league and he's playing on the field, but it's just amazing game.
I've got another question.
you remember this? Do you remember do you know the story of Saka? Do you know how it all happened?
Go ahead. You got all your attention on Saka. You're the Arsenal expert.
Right, yeah. So Saka was a young player. He was a youth player at Arsenal when Arteta came in, right? So Arteta came in and he basically said, everybody at this club, you've got a clean slate. You got a clean slate. There's one thing I want you to work hard, right? I want you to work hard, and I'll give you a list of things. These are the things you do on the pitch. If you don't do these things on the pitch, you don't play for Arsenal. Went to Saka, and he played him at right back. He played nearly a season at right back. Sorry, it was left back. He played at left back because he's left-footed, okay? So he played as a defender, left back, full year. And then the entire front line. And he was only 16, 17, I think he was. 17 maybe when he turned 18. And so then just before the Euros, right, about 3 months before the Euros, there was injuries across the front line. And Arteta went, you have a left foot. So I'm going to put you on the right wing, and you're going to cut in, and you're going to shoot. And if you can't get onto your left foot, go past that player. Beat that player, right? So it was beat that player or go in onto your left. Beat that player, go in onto your left. Simple job. Beat the player into your... 3 months later, he goes to the European Championships. 3 months playing on the right wing. He goes to the European Championships and plays on the wing for England in the European Championships.
Yeah, do you think Arsenal are going to make it this year?
Arsenal going to win the league. Easy.
Yeah,
it's going to be 10 points. 10 points clear. I don't see anybody else that's as good. I don't see anybody else that's as good. And it's not okay. There's a fair bit of bias there, right? I have a fair bit of bias. I am an Arsenal fan, but the arguments that I hear against Arsenal are rubbish. I've yet to hear a good argument against Arsenal.
Well,
do you have a good argument against Arsenal winning it?
Yeah, fair enough. No, but the thing with Arsenal is they can contain most of the attacking players in the Premier League with just the way they
absolutely.
They
and the best defense.
And the
best defense, best
attack. Flukely was United, but we somehow we beat you guys, but that was just a fluke. We couldn't repeat that.
I have no idea how you did that. I've watched that game back. You weren't in that game. You weren't in that game.
We're just lucky. We got lucky on a few bouncing the ball. That's what it was. I guess that because after that game we didn't have any consistency. We just went down. It was so that was it.
I saw a statistic of 10-minute chunks where the opposition had more possession, right? 10-minute chunks. If you break the season down into 10-minute chunks, right? How many times have the opposition had the majority of possession, right? And Arsenal just blow the rest of the league away. They're always in the game. Always in the game. It's just consistent through the entire season. It's unbelievable. They're one of the best. They're potentially one of the best Arsenal teams that I've ever seen.
Yeah, I remember the old teams from the late 90s under Arsene Wenger. They used to be really good.
Yeah.
I used to see
they
them,
were really good.
The old, Filbert Street in Leicester. Yeah, I remember those days they had like some of the stars like Dennis Bergkamp.
Unbelievable.
And I was actually there for that game. I remember Leicester, we had a home game at night. We drew 3-3. But he scored like an injury time like volley. So he had like a really big long ball, and then really close to the goal, he kind of like caught it on the end of his foot, controlled it with like a.
Were you there?
Yeah,
the hat trick.
Yeah.
You were there for the hat trick.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but then
anybody that's watching this that wants to see football perfection, if anybody wants to see football perfection, All you have to do is type in Bergkamp, Bergkamp, Leicester, Leicester, right?
Yeah,
Perfection.
I'd say that was one of the best goals I've ever seen. But fortunately, the referee that night, he added like an insane amount of injury time, like 7 or 8 minutes, and
Yeah.
I think the old Gary Walsh, the old captain from those days, he managed to hit a equaliser in like 7 after 97, 98 minutes. But yeah, that was a really class game. And for most of that game, though, we're completely outclassed, but somehow they managed to get into that.
Exactly.
Just arrived.
Andre, that's a class player. That's the one. Okay. Nice. Yeah. Aside from Bergkamp, you guys had Henry as well. So that guy rocked the whole Premier League when he was in.
Oh yeah. He couldn't help scoring. Couldn't help scoring.
Yeah. I think the type of player that Germany is missing in this squad, personally, my own opinion is they need the close back because they don't have a talisman like Klinsmann or Klose who can finish consistently. But they seem to
this game here so far is just it's nothing. Like you can see that Germany are the better team. Like Japan are just sitting there in a 4-4-2, and well, like what's going to happen is these teams are so equal, and exactly what you said, Zach. Exactly what you said. If they had somebody that they could just boom hit a long one, put it in the box, and just rattle them a little bit, just rattle the center of the Japanese defense. They haven't gone near the center of the Japanese defense. Haven't gone near it.
They have a penalty on here.
Oh, here we go with the chain.
Down there like WWF style. Yeah, I think there's.
All right, so we got a penalty, and so just as I was saying that they need to get into the center of the defense, they obviously get into the center of the defense, and now I'm watching. Right, okay, so that's little tip over the top. It's control. Yeah. Oh.
Penalty. It is a penalty.
Oh my God, goalkeeper! What were you doing?
Gundogan, he plays for Arsenal.
He clipped his leg and hit.
He's going to take it.
What are you doing, goalkeeper?
Rugby tackle. Yeah, the rugby tackle.
Tom wouldn't like that. Tom wouldn't like that, Zach. He's Germans. He said, cheating Germans, diving all over the place.
Okay, yeah,
he touched.
Hantois. Okay, yeah. So Pele is the goats. Yeah.
So there's the answer. Germany in their pen. They're going to have to win a lot of penalties to win this.
Don't say whether they score. Right? You're not allowed to say whether they score. Right? You're not allowed to say.
I don't look over
my shoulder. Anyway.
No, I'm going to take a time machine. Right? I'm going to take a time machine. Okay. Yes! Get in there! Woo!
So that's roughly.
Oh wait, I'm trying to. The camera's on this. I haven't seen it yet.
Exactly. We're all a little bit behind.
I watched it over your shoulder.
Oh dear. The answer is the penalties. Germany's going to stick around for penalties and a few headers or free kicks.
Yeah. Well, they got in. Like that was a good ball. They moved the center of the defense, and the winger came up around wide. But the goalkeeper shouldn't have made that challenge.
No. But
he shouldn't have made that. He should have just stood up.
On the note, the way the Germans are playing this game in the first half. If you look at France, when they played against a course much weaker side of Australia, many of the lads play in England. The French came top trumps because they've got some talisman up front. They can shoot.
France are a better team.
France and England will be a semi-final at least. Could be a final.
That's right.
Yeah, go ahead.
I would imagine that it might look like that. Yeah, I would imagine that could happen. Like the French last night, they just. I watched the game today. I watched the game back today because I wasn't staying up for it. I had classes in the morning. But watched the game today, and the Oliver Giroud. What else do you need? Right? He's Haaland with less goals, right? But he's Haaland to bring the passes. He's Haaland that passes. That's what he is. He's Haaland that passes. Because Erling Haaland has never passed the ball in his life, but he scores all the goals, so it doesn't matter. Ollie Giroud doesn't score all the goals, so he passes the ball. He's just magnificent. He's a magnificent footballer. Yeah.
I suppose it's just a
Absolutely
question.
class.
In the moment, do you think they're going to miss Mbappe and what's the other guy, Benzema?
Yeah.
Benzema's not here. Benzema's not. He didn't make it.
Well, the French league have got some decent strikers who have experience. So they might be fresh in the World Cup, but I think it makes it makes them fearless against other defense because they don't have any experience of it.
Brazil or either France or Germany in the final. I don't see Germany getting to the final. They're they're a decent team. But exactly what Zach said, who's going to score goals? You're not going to win a tournament if you don't score goals. Like Gnabry will get a goal every 3 games. Then you got Havertz, he'll get a goal every 4 games. They're your 2 best forwards. Where's the rest of the goals coming from? Rudiger, you're gonna rely on as a defender to hit a ball? Like what? There's no goals. It can't be Germany.
Yeah, I suppose Rudiger is kind of good from set pieces and headering, isn't he? But
Yeah.
rely on him all that much.
Like it can be done. It can be done. Greece won the European Championships. Yeah, Greece won the European Championships. Same thing. They just keep it tight and play for free kicks. Like what I'm looking at here, I don't see them going past a Japanese defense.
Well, in terms of
the tourney, and that is better for France. In my opinion, that is better for France because a better player to have with the likes of Rabiot and Mbappe and the midfielders that they have, the ones that like to run, they like to run past the centre forward. Benzema likes to turn on the ball. You can't have a player turning on the ball with the midfield that France have. So Giroud is the better player for the French midfield. So it's better.
I mean, as an England fan watching and every other national team watching the German game, thinking, how is Germany? Just the first half while we were talking, it's like they had 81% of the possession with only 1 shot on target and 3 shots on goal.
Yeah.
So the Japan contained them.
Where are they going? They're not going anywhere. There's no big man up front. There's no little man up front. There's nothing up front. Just they got into the box, right? They got into the box and they went down for a soft penalty that the goalkeeper shouldn't have went for. This is 0-0 still. There's no difference. There's no difference between these teams. Not so far. I'm just looking at the comments earlier.
Yeah, so we've got Havertz up front. He's the striker for Chelsea. Musiala, I have to say, I don't really know much about him.
Gnabry for Bayern is kind of cool. He's a great player, actually. He left Arsenal to go to Werder Bremen, and then from Werder Bremen he went to Bayern Munich, and he's out of contract actually in the summer. I'm not sure if he signed a new one, but there was talk of Bayern giving him 250,000 a week, which in Germany is a lot.
Oh yeah, nice work if we can get it. It's definitely.
Yeah. And then they have Muller. Muller gets goals, but he's from an inside forward position and he's old. So, does Muller do it again? Can Muller do it again? Is Muller actually the greatest striker that the World Cup has ever seen?
I suppose stats-wise, probably not. But it's like a playmaker.
Yeah, well, he's got the goals.
Definitely up there.
Yeah, he's got the goals. Like if he does it again, he probably is.
Yeah.
Yeah, but,
Okay,
but I don't see it. I don't see.
Yeah, so the Germans are methodical and not so flary. Yeah, I'd agree with that. Germany always go below the radar until the final, and that kind of reminds me of Italy
Yeah,
in the Euros last year.
yeah.
They kind of went to yeah. So and Hang Tao said you mentioned the 1970 final between Brazil and Italy was one of the best finals. So now just wondering, Hang Tao, I mean, how old are you nowadays? Were you around in 1970 for that final? I suppose if you're like really into watching
It
football,
was a blast from the past, that one.
get you in on one of these series. Get you in on one of these days.
Yes.
But also, got an interesting question for you here, also from Hang Tao. So football has become a game for drama queens and diving. Worst culprit is Cristiano Ronaldo. So do you have any drama queens that come to mind? Like looking back.
Oh. Well, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer won us the Champions League using one of those dodgy dives. I do remember him. That's a good one.
That is true. That is true.
Sorry to say it. We didn't deserve
And
that
also,
goal.
Man United won the league in 2001.
Yes.
I think it was 2001. You won the league, and it was a dive from actually Ole Gunnar Solskjaer again, who ended up getting Sol Campbell sent off. You remember that one? That was filthy. That was filthy. That dive. It was filthy.
Well, he did a double roll on the green pitch. That one.
Yeah. And Sol Campbell got sent off for elbowing him in the face. He was running along, right? He was running along, and he's like leaning over like this, and Solskjaer just runs into his elbow and then falls on the ground. And he's like, "What? What are you doing? Why is that a red card? It was filth. It was filth."
Well, in terms of this World Cup, we haven't seen any dives yet. Dives of the season yet. Hopefully, it's clean that way.
Yeah, it looks good. I'm enjoying the reffing so far. I'm enjoying the refereeing so far. There was a yellow card for diving in one of the games yesterday, and this time wasting. They have cut down on time wasting so much, and it's one of the things that annoys me about soccer is how much time you can actually waste by just not doing anything. And it's like the referees just out of nowhere. They were just like, no, you can't do that anymore. It's 10 minutes of extra time. Oh no, that's 15 minutes of extra time. No, that's 20 minutes of extra time. I want all the extra time. I want you to add it all up, and I gotta put. Oh, you think this game is 90 minutes? It's 180. It's like the darts. It's like the darts. I love it.
Well, players to get off. Yeah, so just the more time you waste, the more you have to stay up. It's kind of feels a bit like detention or something, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And the referees are just like, get on with it. We want the game, and you will listen to me.
But the thing that puts you, the other thing with this is some challenge was genuine in that Saudi game. That was a nail biter, not for the score, but for the time wasting. And it's like, was it a time wasting offense, or was it nearly concussion? So the question is,
dude, did you not see his face?
Well, that one is real. That one is real. He took his knee to the face. That was just horrid.
Oh my God, the X-ray came out.
As well. I mean,
the X-ray.
Yeah,
did you see the X-ray?
Yeah, and the jaw's broken allegedly, but
no. It's a line straight through his head. It's a line. Yeah. Like the bone is snapped.
Exactly.
It's like that.
But the thing I want to ask you guys both is, goalkeepers jumping out and lunging their big bodies. Is that technically a foul if they take out the striker or anybody else?
Explain it to me again.
If you're a goalkeeper and you lunge out of your box and you obviously within an area where you can you're in your own territory. You hit another player, but you catch the ball. Are you liable to a foul? Now you're not, according to the rules. Like
Okay, no. Okay, the first thing that you have as a footballer is a duty of care to your fellow footballers. Okay? First thing, you have to look after the other footballers. You cannot do something to endanger another footballer. That is the first golden rule of football. And if you do anything to endanger the health, the safety of a footballer at all, regardless of ball contact or intent or anything, if you endanger another footballer, it's a red card. It's a red card. It doesn't matter whether you got the ball, whether it was a clean challenge for the ball. If you endanger another player, it is a red card, and that's the rule.
Because what I worry about is
strikers. It's the primary rule across which all other rules are based.
If you're a striker and you're going for that 50-50 ball, the ball's in the air and you're going to nod it in. And either the striker or the goalkeeper needs some protection, because at the moment it looks like a lot of injuries.
Okay, so what you're talking about here, striker goes up, keeper comes that way?
The ball's going across. Keeper's coming out to catch. The striker thinks he can just get ahead of the goalkeeper and just nod it in.
What you gotta actually look at. Yeah. That's what you're looking at. You're looking at the angle of the player.
You can't do that.
Yeah, you're looking at the angle of the player. So the foul is actually called jumping in, right? Foul is called jumping in. So if you have two players and they jump up and in, that's fine. If you have two players and they jump up and one of them jumps up straight and the other one jumps in, that's also fine, right? So any sort of thing where you're straight up is fine. Now, let's imagine you lean, okay? And you go like that. That's fine. Yeah? But if you go like that, who's at fault?
So I'm just thinking, I mean,
if we have one straight and one at an angle, and they jump up like that, which one's at fault?
I'll go for the guy who's impeding the second person.
It's the one who's on the angle. The one who's on the angle is at fault because instead of jumping straight up, you're jumping in, right? And it's like the whole body goes like that. Like you can jump in and keep yourself vertical, right? You can jump in and keep yourself vertical, but as soon as you go off the vertical, that's a foul.
I would agree with that because some chat online after that game, and it said that the Saudi goalkeeper itself is at fault for his stupidity. Obviously, high pressure game, and he went for it, So, but yeah, it's going to be.
Hey, Gab, how you doing?
I saw Gabby in the chat, so I thought, we've got to get him in. You're like,
Okay, hello, Gab. How you doing?
Hey, hi. I was watching the game with my wife because she's a big fan of Germany, So she forced me to watch the game against Japan, and then I received a link from Eric saying you guys were live, so I was like, whoa, okay, I want to join in, especially when we were talking about
welcome, sir.
The French team just now. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I have a question for you. Without your star strikers, who's your goal scorers for France now?
It has to be the beautiful one.
Did you score?
The beautiful one is
right now. It's like so. Right now,
looking over your shoulder again.
It's supposed to be Mbappe. But it's like Giroud is always the go-to guy for friendly games or qualifiers. 2-0 just now.
You two are in the, you two are ahead. You're still behind, and I haven't seen it yet. So I saw it over your shoulder again.
Exactly.
It was close. Yeah, it was close. I thought it was out from where I was sitting.
Exactly. Hey, we've got intruder. Go call the police, guys. Hey. Oh dear. Oh. So Gav, how are you winning the game?
Oh, wait a second.
Well, actually looks offside on the replay.
Yeah.
Wait. Oh yeah,
That's a
handy.
class.
That's handy. That's handy. That's a good goal. That's a good goal.
Which one? Okay, so no.
Checking it now. I think this is VAR, but I think
Alvarez will guess at number 7.
I think he's going to write this one off. Surely, like.
Nah. He's behind the ball, isn't he?
No. He got played on by. He's onside by the defender.
He actually crossed it.
Wait a second. I'm looking at it from an angle here. Right, so he's offside there. 7 is offside for me. He's offside. It's offside. He's actually offside twice.
Yeah. Also, just like for the audience as well, Gab, do you want to introduce yourself a little?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Gab. I'm a French guy. I've been living in Chongqing for nearly 10 years. It will be 10 years in March next year. I'm actually I used to be Zach's colleague, and now I also work along with Owen. So I'm very familiar with you guys, and I'm also a big time football fan. Because I come from Marseille, which is it's considered as the capital of football in France. So I'm a big time Olympique Marseille fan, and also the French national team. So World Cup.
And they don't have a football team owned by the Saudis.
Yeah, that is correct.
Saudis, no.
Yeah, so welcome to the show, Gab, and also the audience might be interested in. A lot of us are members of the Green Card Club. Yeah, so both me, Zach, and Gab, have them. What about Owen? Are you part of the club?
I don't have a green card.
Made it in.
Yeah. No, I don't have a green card. I did fulfill the requirements to get a green card, but I'm recently divorced.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah.
So we kind of
I put a kibosh on that.
Yeah. Well, I would like to make a point about Marseille. Sanchez, you gave Sanchez to Marseille, Mr. Owen. Am I right?
Inter gave him to Marseille.
Yeah.
And then you gave him to Inter. We gave him to you. And it was good for us. And then he just slowly got worse until he ended up at Marseille, and now he's brilliant again.
Exactly. Well, he's not that bad in Marseille because he scored a goal against Monaco last couple of weeks. Yeah. So he got really play from Arsenal in Marseille.
Have you watched any of that, Gab?
Yeah, I did. He's doing well. The problem is he's very isolated. It's like we had another very good it's like what's his name? We sold it to Juventus on the last day of the mercato. So right now it's like Sanchez is a little bit isolated, at the front, but he still managed to score a few goals, and he's got this kind of South American fighting spirit that helps the team a lot. So Marseille did actually very well in the Champions League. We didn't qualify, but we still won 2 games, and nearly made it to the Europa League. It's quite positive compared with the last few times because the last few editions of the Champions League we participated to it was a total disaster. It's like
I know. I saw you guys playing against Tottenham. I watched the game of you guys against Tottenham. Are you gone, Gab? You gone?
Yeah.
You there?
I was gone for a few seconds, I think.
Yeah. So I watched Marseille against Tottenham in the Champions League. I tend to watch a lot of Tottenham because I tend to watch a lot of Tottenham because I'm an Arsenal fan. You got to see what the neighbours are doing. But you guys, you had him. You had him. Like Spurs they're talking about Conte this and Conte trophies and Conte blah blah blah. Marseille had him. just as good as Tottenham. Just as good. Very respectable. Very respectable.
Yeah, it's like the team is doing better year after year. We had we changed the coach during the summertime, and we've got this guy from it's called Tudor from, I mean, he's a Croatian from Italy. And at the beginning, the fans were really angry because they really liked the previous coach. But this guy just started in the French league and won almost all the games at the first 10 games. So now he's really well respected. Although we don't have a lot of money compared with Paris, so it's very hard. Every time we got to get a good player, we've got to set it off to another club, or it's very hard to. It's really hard to compete in the French league because PSG is so financially powerful that you can, even if you perform well, it's hard to. It's not like in the 2000s, before or the 1990s, before
French
the
team.
Qatar.
Here's my opinion. Any French team that is able to buy Neymar, and have Messi and have Mbappe, any French team that has them is cheating. They're cheating because I'm being serious here. Because Marseille are a fantastic club. They've got a bigger support than PSG. They're a huge support down in the south of France, and it really is the home of French football. That's where Zidane is from. That's where Cantona is from. They're not from like Paris Saint-Germain. That's a nothing team that's bought by a country. And
it's a very artificial club. I mean, the club's culture. They used to be good before. They were not like. I mean, they didn't win any Champions League, or before Qatar bought up PSG in 2011, they had won only twice the French league, and after that, right now they have like 11 titles. So in 10 years they won like almost every year. And
I remember Paris Saint-Germain in the 90s. Paris Saint-Germain in the 90s were a decent team. They were okay.
Yeah, they were decent, but
they were okay.
But nothing more than that.
But that's it. They were okay, and they had good players. But the good players that Paris Saint-Germain had, they went to Milan, they went to Juventus, they went to Barcelona, they went to Real Madrid. They left Paris. Like the good players that Paris had left. The good players that Marseille had left. Because it's the French league, and the French league doesn't have the money.
Well, some parts do, but yeah. What I was going to mention to you is this. Manchester's two parts, the red and the blue part. Now, for years, the Reds, the United have done well, and more recently, City have done much better. But they just bought into cash from foreign investors. You correctly just mentioned something similar. Now what's happening in Manchester is very interesting because the grassroots football, like the primary school, high school football, some of those lads get into the youth teams and the other teams, and they get into the academies, but they don't get beyond that. So most of our Manchester United academy players go to other clubs because they can't get in.
And I'll tell you one thing. The Man City and Chelsea did really, really well. Was the first things that they did, the first things that City and Chelsea did was they invested in youth structures, youth setups, and they increased the scouting budget, and they brought in all the young players. And now you have players like some of the top players in Europe have been through Chelsea, and this is Chelsea are a second division team. That's what I know Chelsea as. Chelsea are Fulham, right? That's the sort of level that I remember Chelsea at. Okay, Chelsea, Fulham, same difference. But They went out. They got all the young players. You think of the players that have came through Chelsea. It's unreal. Think of the players that come through that came through Man City. That's unreal. They have Phil Foden. He came through their youth setup. He's starting for England, and he's English and he's playing. Nathan Ake. He's a young player that came through Chelsea's youth setup, and he's starting. And Raheem Sterling. Oh no, he came through Liverpool, wasn't it?
Liverpool.
Yeah, so Liverpool have done well as well.
But the thing that United had before, and other famous clubs have, is they had a core of very good, talented players that they've nurtured themselves. So the 5 or 6 players that came out of United squad in the 80s, 90s all became Alex Ferguson's, golden boys. And now you've got a set of them in Gunners at the moment.
Is there anyone from Manchester? Is there anyone from Manchester playing for United now? I don't think there is. I don't think there's anyone from Manchester playing for United, is there?
There's Rashford is still now.
Oh, is he? But he's Salford. Yeah, isn't he?
Manchester is the border of Manchester is debated by many people, but yeah, that counts.
Yeah, he's there or thereabouts.
Yeah, thereabouts, just in the border.
He's the local area.
He still plays from Bolton. Bolton hate us a lot. If you're a Bolton fan, you'll know what I mean by that.
Because you take all the young players.
Exactly, take all the young players. And Stockport County, we robbed them as well of all that.
I loved. We have a Bolton lad playing for Arsenal, Rob Holding, and when Arsene Wenger bought him, I think he's the only Arsene Wenger player still at the club. Like he's been there a while, and we bought him off of Bolton as an 18-year-old for $2 million, and they were talking on to Wenger and they're saying, oh well, such and such has went for 40 million and such has went for such and such, and Wenger had to turn around and just go, look, I'm really sorry, but he only cost us $2 million.
We have a comment. We have a comment on the line. It says Manchester City is more dominant than Manchester United. It's correct. As we just mentioned, their youth team system, their structure, such much more advanced than us.
But it's bought.
They're 5 years ahead of us, dude.
But it's bought. It's like nation money came in to buy this thing. It's not fair. It's not fair. 20 years ago, right? 20 years ago, when United were winning the Champions League, Man City were playing in League 2 against Shrewsbury. That's where put that into perspective, right? Yeah. Manchester City were 2 divisions below the Premier League. They're not a big team.
No.
Yeah. I remember the manager then was Joe Royal, wasn't it? And it was him who got, was it 2 successive promotions or something? And then
Yeah. And then they got promoted, and then you got Platini never played for PSG. Platini played for Juventus and was unbelievable. But I tell you who played for Juventus and was better. Liam Brady.
Very nice.
Yeah, also a quick message for Hang Tuo as well. You've got a very enthusiastic, follower with us tonight. Hang Tuo, if you'd like to join us in a future live stream in this series, because we're going to be covering more matches in the World Cup over the next few weeks. So, Hang Tuo, if you have a WeChat username or a way of contacting us, I'll get in touch with you and I'll invite you on for a future live stream.
But Saint-Étienne, you're right about Saint-Étienne. You're absolutely right about Saint-Étienne. If that's in the context that I thought, the youth system there, spectacular. That's the modern equivalent of Ajax. That's what that is. That's the modern equivalent of Ajax. The players that have came through Saint-Étienne is unbelievable. And I tell you what, I'm so happy that we have Saliba. He's just, I haven't seen a 21-year-old defender like William Saliba. You'll see him in this World Cup. He is spectacular. Best 21-year-old I've ever seen defending. Thought he played in the French league before Juve. He did. Michel Platini did play in the French league before Juve. I don't know who he played for. You're a former field hockey international. That's cool. Is field hockey big around the UK, Zach?
Field hockey. Well, I would say too. Field hockey is played most of schools in England. So we have that's a domestic league within the school level and city level and county level. But and the Olympic team we do pretty well in it. So anything on the grass and a ball, we call it. But it's actually quite a painful game if you compare to football because the ball's much harder, and if you're a goalkeeper, you do get hit. Similar to, but yeah, it's a top game to play. But
I played it.
It's not really that big in England or hockey. I mean, the only time I ever really came into contact with this was again kind of back in my school days. But Han Tuan, I was also saying you were a former field hockey international. Malaysia. Oh, that's really cool.
Wow, that's great. So
what I couldn't get, I've played it a couple of times. I was bad. I was trying to get it on. Like you can only hit it with one side of the stick. That was bizarre to me.
And the other rule is you can only go forward. You can't go backwards.
Is that a rule?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Literally just
actually, that's a Baidu page for Michel Platini. He used to play for Saint Etienne.
He played for Saint Etienne?
Yeah, 1979.
So Platini started his career in a small
season. Like he played 52 games, scoring 29 goals.
Yeah.
Go on, Gab, what were you saying?
He started playing for a small club called Nancy, which is in the bordering Germany's region of Lorraine. So by AS Saint Etienne, which was a huge club in the 70s. It's like they won like the French league like 10 times during the 60s and 70s, and they lost in the final of the European Champions League like in 1976 against the Bayern Munich, which was French club have never done really well in the European Champions League. So back then, be able to reach the final was like something quite spectacular. Yeah. So Platini like became like really, really, really good when he played for Saint Etienne, and then he just went on to he was bought by Juventus. So he was one of the first French players to go play in another country. Back then was not very, back then there were some limitations. Only like 3 non-national players could play in a team. So he was one of the first to Italy, and then he became like a huge star in Juventus. He won like 3 times the Ballon d'Or. And he became a very.
Still wasn't as good as Liam Brady.
For example, if you ask like my father's generation, people born in the 50s or the 60s, and you ask them who is the best player in the history of French football, they will all tell you Platini. Whereas if you ask kids from the 80s or 90s like myself, we'll all tell you it's Zidane. So apparently their level is quite. I think different styles, but quite similar in terms of the way they carried the whole the whole team on their shoulders. So they were like both like
I think there was when I was a kid, there was always like a mystique about Platini, and I always kind of thought that about French players that they always had a little bit of I don't know what, and like that. So they always had a little touch of magic. I remember when Cantona was playing for Leeds. Do you remember when Cantona was playing for Leeds?
I remember that before he moved to Manchester United. I remember that.
Yeah, it was Leeds were the last champions of the football league, right? So they were the last football league. right? And
Yeah,
then
the
following year it became the Premier League, and Cantona was playing for that team, and he got 20 goals, I think, and some of those goals they were just magical. You just didn't know. You didn't know what he was going to do with the ball. You'd never seen anybody do anything like that with the ball. It was special. And then when Cantona, when he went to United, it got even better. He got even better. It was horrid. It was so horrible watching this guy playing for United because he was so good. And then Zidane, just like a spinning 360 on the ball in the Champions League final. Like, just what else can you say? But still, none of them are my favorite French player. My favorite French player is
Giroud.
It's not true.
Cantona.
Not true.
The German-Japan game was restarted. The kickoff.
Yeah.
Like
Who's my favorite French player?
So not Platini then.
It's not
No, it's not
Platini.
Platini.
I like no. That's a hard one. I'm gonna.
Who's my favorite?
Henry. I really like Thierry Henry. Henry for me is the best French player striker I've seen in my time.
No, not my favorite.
N'Golo Kante.
Not my favorite. You know my favorite French player? This guy changed everything. Everything that I thought a midfielder should be. Everything I thought a midfielder should be. This guy changed my
Vieira.
It was Vieira. Vieira was my favorite French player. I don't care whether he scored goals, whether he didn't score goals. He did score goals, but he was just the best midfielder. He was the best central midfielder because he changed what I thought a midfielder should do.
Well, he did what Roy Keane did for us at United.
He did more. He did more because he was like the idea of a box-to-box midfielder. He was a perfect box-to-box midfielder, and he was able to be that extra man that made Arsenal's attack a five-man attack. And when he came in late into the box, you just knew he was going to score. You knew he was going to score, and you knew this team was done because he just controlled the game so well. Yeah, I'm looking at Japan here, and Japan are coming for this, man. They're coming for this.
I mean, the German defense looks sluggish.
Yeah, just like the finish on that shot.
They don't look pretty quick on the back. They look like the right back looks a bit slow.
Germany might get a goal on the break here and win 2-0, but it doesn't show that it doesn't show anybody anything. It doesn't like this isn't a dominant performance. This is just a 1-0 win.
Yeah, Germany is like since the 2016 Euro Cup, they've been like getting worse and worse. I think. They're
There he goes.
transitioning.
Wow.
It's
That's
hard
close.
to transition.
Again, roll to your screen at the back of your shoulder. Oh my goodness! Oh,
How do you miss?
teenager.
How do you miss?
That's a cracker of an attempt, but it ripped half of the defense.
Well, that's that Luciaro. What's his name? What's that young man's name?
Mr. Weiler.
Oh, Musiala. Yeah.
Well, okay.
Japan could nick one. You're right, Eric. Hey, Eric, how you doing, you mad thing? El Bombero. Yeah, Japan could nick one, but you've seen this 1,000 times. It's Germany. Seen it 1,000 times. This is it. That's the end of it. That's the end of the game. It's 1-0 Germany. They're not going to tell you anything about themselves. They've done what they can do.
The team that played in the South Korean World Cup, the Japanese team, then they were an awesome side. They're one of the best sides. Then this is not as good as that side.
Which, the German one?
No, in South Korea. Japan played in South Korea.
Yeah.
I remember in the early 2000s, Japan used to have a few good teams. And actually, I don't know if you remember, the 2004 Asia Cup was held in China. And I think there were a couple of cities that held games. Chongqing was one of them. So that year, I went with some of the other expats to go and watch a lot of national teams. Kind of some of the teams based there were like Japan. We saw Thailand, Oman, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan. Yeah, saw all of those. They played there, but also Chengdu held some games. Also Yantai in Shandong Province, and also the Roger Stadium in Beijing. But I remember I saw Japan play a lot that year. And I feel like the final game they played before they moved on to Beijing, they had a knockout game against Jordan. And that game, it was very interesting. It was very cagey. I can't remember what the score was. It was a draw after 90 minutes, and then they played 30 minutes of extra time, and it went to penalties. And the penalty shootout was really crazy because I feel like Jordan kind of took a 2-goal lead. Japan kind of missed their first few penalty kicks, but then they had a big argument with the referee because some of the Japanese players were complaining that maybe there was a bit of turf sticking up on the penalty spot. So what happened was they actually moved the whole penalty shootout to the other end of the pitch, and I don't know, that seemed to kind of throw Jordan off a little bit. So they missed a couple of penalties, and Japan came back to win. And eventually they went on to win that tournament. But that was a really cool year to be in Chongqing and watch that tournament. And I saw loads of national teams play at the Olympic Stadium down there in Renjiagang.
Yeah, one of the early success of Japan, we see them here today, might be because the BBC pundit Gary Lineker, he spent some time in Japan. Was it Nagaoka Grumpus, something from some of those lines? 19. Well, he was at Tottenham before, but in his later years he went to Japan to play. And a whole host of
Lineker is from Leicester originally, but then moved to Tottenham, then Barcelona. Then maybe throughout his career in Japan.
So there's a lot of the funny thing is, it has a funny name.
Hand out in that semi-final. You remember that? In the hand of God semi-final, greatest goal ever scored.
Yes.
Against Argentina. And Gary Lineker, he had a chance. He should have just stuck his hand out. If he stuck his hand out, England score, and the different world. But he didn't. Should have done it. Would have been the story of the handballs. It would have been the tale of the handballs instead of the tale of the handball.
Exactly. Well,
it's a shame England in the 90s. I reckon we're only just a penalty shootout against was it still West Germany in Italia 90?
It was West,
Then I suppose only a penalty shootout against the final. I think the final was against Cameroon, so they would have had an excellent chance of winning it. And then, of course, England, we were eliminated under Graham Taylor during the qualifying stages, weren't we? So I remember the first World Cup I watched.
Which year was that?
So
which one?
1990?
1990. 1990, you were in the same group as us. In 1990, England were in the same group as Ireland. So it was England, Ireland, Netherlands, and Egypt.
Jack Charlton? Jack Charlton was the manager.
Yeah. Jack Charlton was the coach. And every game in the group was a 1-1 draw. Every game in the group was a 1-1 draw, except for England beating Egypt 1-0. So England topped that group, and the Netherlands and us were joint second, right? We're joint second, equal on everything. And they actually put our two names in a hat. and pulled one out to see who went through from the group.
So who won that one?
We did. We went through to the next round, and we played Romania in the quarterfinals, and Dave O'Leary scored the winning penalty, which is why I'm an Arsenal fan. And then the following game in the quarterfinals, the last 16 we played Romania. Quarterfinals we played Italy, and Toto Scalacci scored against us, and we lost 1-0 in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, then remember we missed 94 because we got eliminated in the qualifiers.
We didn't get the qualifiers there. Yeah,
but then I always thought in 98 as well. Had a good team.
People say that it wasn't that good. It wasn't that good. Like you got to think about it. You're playing Paul Ince as an attacking midfielder. Like your number 10 in the World Cup is Paul Ince. That's not good enough. And then you have Gary Neville, right? You have Gary Neville, brilliant right back. They played him at centre back in that World Cup. So Gary Neville was centre back in that World Cup, and you had Paul Ince at number 10. It wasn't that good. And I think the fact it was sold so heavily to the English people in the media, like it was really built up. It was built up as if England were actually going to do something when they actually had a bang average team, and everybody else could see that the team was actually pretty average with a couple of great players, but an average team. That when you guys lost to Argentina and it was deserved, that was beautiful. Like the rest of the world loved that. They loved seeing Beckham getting sent off. They loved it.
Well, I'm not sure of that, but yeah. But that year was very interesting because you had probably the best French team I ever saw in my lifetime, which was with Zidane, Marcel Desailly, Jokayev, Emmanuel Petit, and his gang of players.
Underwood.
You're talking about 1998, right?
Yeah, 1998. That's probably the best set of team I ever saw in any country. The most balanced team.
The best
it was like a
team
team.
the 2000, the Euro Cup 2000. They play basically the same team, same players, but just
put in the right positions.
Yeah, playing a much better football, like much more offensive, much more. Especially with the final, I don't know if you guys remember the final in 2000. It's like 1-0 for Italy, and it's like you've got Will Turd, who used to play for Arsenal.
Sylvain Wiltord used to play for Arsenal.
That's like Pires, who used to play for Arsenal, passes the ball to Wiltord, and they score at the very last second. At the moment, all the Italians were already celebrating. They were celebrating the victory already, and then it's like France managed to equalize like the very last second, and then went on for the. It's like I don't know if you guys remember. Back then, it's like when you have extra time, it's like the golden goal. It's like the first team which scores the goal wins, and then it's like Trezeguet scored a very beautiful goal during the extra time. So France won like the World Cup and then the Euro Cup 2 years later. So that's the best French team like ever in.
I completely agree with you. I completely agree with you. The difference between the 2000 team and the 98 team is not necessarily the players, but it's the maturity of them and having them playing in the right positions, which it seemed like
it's like
it seemed
like,
kind of bodged together. It was bodged together in the 98 World Cup, and you can see that they were great players, but they didn't know where they fitted into that team.
Yeah,
well, their role was their team was really balanced in terms of experience and new potential.
They could do everything, though. That's the thing. They could do everything. They could do everything. Laurent Blanc could play it right back. It was fine. You know, they could do they could do this. They could take a player off. They could put a player on, and it didn't hurt them. You know, it didn't hurt them. The team just kept going, and you know, they had Guivarch up front. Like Guivarch up front, it doesn't matter whether you're playing Guivarch up front. It's just the team is trundling forward and getting it done. It's a team.
Yeah.
Yeah, got a good message from Eric Farrell. So welcome to the chat. Yeah, some top strikers from the 98 tournament. Yeah, Batistuta, Bergkamp, Ronaldo, Henri Trezeguet, Vieri. Yeah, I remember him. Yeah, Italy, Baggio. Asuka, was he from Croatia?
Dever Sugar was from Croatia. Eric, you are wrong. You are wrong. And I'll tell you why you're wrong. Because Bergkamp wasn't a striker, right? He was a number 10. And Henri wasn't a striker. He was a left winger, right? In that World Cup, he did not play up front. He played on the left wing. And Dennis Bergkamp was playing as a number 10 behind the striker. So
I just
remember the striker.
Guys.
Striker was Kluivert.
Because Gavin and I run with him, and we made a new run called the Farrell Run.
Yeah. And Baggio wasn't a striker either. Vieri was the striker. Ronaldo was the striker. Batistuta was the striker. Bulgarian player who was very smart and skillful. There were a few. There was a bald guy. His name was Jordan Lechkov. I loved him. And then there was the really skillful guy, which was Stoichkov. Hristo Stoichkov. H-R-I-S-T-O. Stoichkov.
Played Barcelona.
Yeah. So Barcelona had Stoichkov and Georgi Hagi at the same time, right? They had the two players at the same time. Georgi Hagi couldn't get a game because of Stoichkov. Like he was a bit good. He was a bit good.
If you're watching this game, you're probably thinking there's a German-Japan game going on. And the interesting thing is the World Cup stirs up memories all the time.
Yeah.
And you think of the old World Cup and new World Cup. So I ask guys all the same questions. The question is this: so far, has anybody impressed you in the games you've seen that you thought, wow, that player is going to be a star in the future?
For the future.
Yeah, the future so far. The youngsters you've seen in the team so far. Anybody that catches your mind? I'm going to go with the guy who plays for England. Saka is going to be wanted by every club at the end of this tournament. His value just went up.
Yeah.
The Saudi manager to get that team through that thing, United probably want to hire him next.
Stoichkov was the 1994 joint top scorer, I think. If memory serves me, joint top scorer with a Russian guy called Oleg Salenko, who used to play for Rangers. And Oleg Salenko scored 5 in one game, which is a record. I think that was the 94 World Cup. I think Oleg Salenko, playing for Russia, scored 5 against Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
I think it was 6-0. And he ended up getting 6 goals, and that was the top scorer. And then we had, and then Stoichkov got 6 goals as well. So I think he was the joint top scorer.
Okay.
That's off the top of my head. I'm liable to be wrong, but I'm not often wrong. He's got to say it. He's got to.
Eric's made a point about Bergkamp. Okay, Bergkamp is I agree on this one, Eric. That is a good point. Okay.
But there were great strikers. Vieri was an unbelievable striker. Kluivert was an unbelievable striker. Ronaldo was an unbelievable striker. There were unbelievable strikers all over the place. What about the Dutch Suriname players who were captain and a talented player?
Was it Hasselbank? Wasn't David Hasselbank from Suriname?
Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank, was he Suriname?
What is wrong?
He might be.
Suriname. I think he's Suriname. Yes.
Hullet is Suriname.
It's like a Dutch.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I think he's probably getting. I think he's probably getting Dutch Suriname confused with French Suriname, because there were a lot of French Suriname players playing for the French team. So you had SAE. He was from Suriname.
Yeah.
Guyana.
Yeah. Or Guyana, was it?
Yeah.
With the Dutch Suriname players, Hullet was from Suriname, and I think Rijkaard was from Suriname as well.
Davids, Edgar Davids.
Yeah, and Davids, yeah. But it wasn't like the whole team. It wasn't like the whole Dutch team. The Dutch team was basically tall white guys with blonde hair. It was Ronald de Boer, Frank de Boer, Danny Blind, Edwin van der Sar, Dennis Bergkamp, Claessens, Koku. They're all 6'5" white guys with blonde hair.
Well, Germany just made a couple of substitutions, like-for-like strikers. They gained a second striker on. Obviously, the gaffer's not happy with the first one. So
yeah, Cameroon, yeah. Japan can't do this. Japan can do this. Come on, Japan. Come on. Come on, Japan.
As a Frenchman, you play. What do you think? If you play Germany, could you win?
If England play Germany?
No. I'm saying because Gab represents another very famous football team, and I would like to get his opinion. If France played Germany, this German team, which we're watching now, with the current team we're playing, we just beat Australia. Do you think they could beat Germany?
Well, I don't know if you remember. I don't know if you remember the last World Cup, but the first game was held in Germany, in Munich. It was Germany against France, and France actually won in Germany. And we also won the last in the 2016 European Cup in France. We also won against Germany like 2-0. So I'm pretty confident that if France plays Germany this time, definitely they will. I think they will win because, I mean, this Germany is like, I mean, it's like every single generation, it's like this generation used to play really well in 2008, 2010. They lost against like the best, Spain in the history of Spanish football twice. And then they finally went up to win the 2014 World Cup. So it was their apex. After that, it's very hard for a generation to keep, being at the top. So right now they are experiencing what France experienced between 2006 and 2014 or 2016, which is a change of generation. So right now I won't bet any money on Germany at this time. I think England offers much more prospect than Germany. If we're talking about European, like Western European nations, I would say France. I mean, I was very pessimistic before the first game because there is this kind of it's like there's a curse, it's like the former world champion gets kicked out during the group stage every single time. So I was really, really scared that France, especially after Benzema got injured. But I was surprised today, but I watched the game this afternoon because I have online lessons in the morning, so I could not afford to watch it live. But I was really pleased with the result and also the way that the team handled the ball and stayed calm. I mean, Australia scored first, and they just kept going and kept scoring, and they could have scored 6 or 7 goals if probably Benzema was there, because the thing is Giroud is very isolated at the front, and Mbappe he's not the best version of Mbappe so far. So
I got to put in, and I'm going to tell you that the Japanese goalkeeper here is having the game of his life.
Yes, right. 3 saves. 3 saves.
Unbelievable. 4 saves.
4 saves.
Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah. The thing that the curse of Germany is something that England knows very well. Even a good team or a bad team, we always go to penalties against Germany, and I don't know how many times we've watched Germany beat us on penalties. So as a childhood memory or nightmare.
Never.
I hope it's just really.
I know every nation's got this kind of like curse. Like Italians, for example, like the Germans, they always lose against the Italians. The French used to lose always against Germany. But someday it's not gonna go on forever. So don't worry.
So James, any comment on the curse of Germany and penalties?
Yeah, I mean, all those years, England always had like really bad luck with their penalties, and I think we finally broke our curse last time round, didn't we?
Yes.
Was it against Colombia or something? We finally managed to win one. Yeah, but I remember loads of close calls when it came really close to winning a tournament.
Come on, Japan.
Euro '96, when we lost, on penalties to Germany. I remember watching that one live. Then I think we lost another one against Portugal, didn't we? Then, of course, there was Argentina in '98. Yeah, it's happened so many times.
Oh, Jesus!
Yeah.
So,
is that the Germany one or the Japanese one?
Is
that the Germany one or the Japanese one? Because they're both mental.
There was a substitution.
Manuel Neuer, is he about 50 now?
It's like the guy.
How's he allowed to do that? He's not allowed to. He'll break a hip.
Yeah, I have to give him credit for that.
Manuel Neuer will break a hip if he keeps doing things like that.
Yeah,
that's a reaction tape.
That's we are live on Chat's live stream as well. So we have a lot of messages from Una, and she's just asking what our prediction is for the final result. But I mean, I have to say that for Una, I mean, I did give a sports lottery bet on this one, so I bet that Germany would beat Japan 3-1.
Japan scored? Who said Japan scored?
Yeah.
I'm looking over your shoulder now.
It is now 1-1.
Looking over your shoulder. Wait a second. What? What the hell? Japan scored over your shoulder.
They did.
Over your shoulder? Over your shoulder? Japan just scored?
Yeah, Japan scored. The Mexican way.
Have they scored for you? Because they've scored for him. Right? They scored for him. They've scored for you. They haven't scored for me. Have they scored for you?
Deserved.
Okay.
Look, it's an even game. This game is 50-50. Germany are not better than Japan.
The bookies had this as a 2-1 to Germany, roughly.
No chance.
Yeah,
no chance.
It's a nicely worked goal, this one.
I wish somebody would have told me. Because I would have put money on it. I'm not a gambler, but wow! Yeah, there it is. They've scored. There's nothing wrong with that goal. That is a bloody good goal.
That's it. Well worked.
I imagine they're going to check that on the VAR for about 10 minutes, just to let Japan fans savor this. Just be slow with this one. Be slow. Let Japan go crazy.
I mean, for this is big for Japanese football. They need that. Especially
Yeah. They just scored against Germany. This is the best day of Japanese players' lives. It's the best day they're ever going to have.
Game on, guys. Game on, yes. Okay. So James, thanks for keeping the telly on the back. We can sort of make out the jumping. Okay. That's a hell of a ball. Well.
So it's a straight up one-on-one the German defenders in their zone, right? The German defenders in their zone. They've each got a Japanese attacker to pick up, all right? And what the defensive midfielder has ended up doing is he didn't follow the runner through. There was a runner came through from midfield. So there's two forwards. There's a runner coming through from midfield. The defensive midfielder should have followed that runner. He didn't. And then the right centre back went to go and meet that player, which meant that the two forwards could move just a yard to the left, and they were in space. One of them took a shot, and the other one scored the goal. And it was good football. It was good football, but the defensive midfielder for Germany is at fault there. Now,
Uh,
those of you who tuned in for expert analysis, there's my expert analysis. Prove me wrong.
Well,
Yeah,
before,
they're still going.
before that goal, before that goal, there was a very
Okay.
similar attempt, and they defended. So
Yeah.
it's likely they're going to score a goal like that. So clearly, along the manager can take note with how to take the Germans apart.
Well, the thing is, if they're going to go with one-on-one contests, then all you have to do is make it a two-on-one. Make it a two-on-one. Overload on one side, overload through the center, or overload on the other side. And even if you go one-on-one on one side, then there's usually a long ball that they can just split the team and just go to the other side of it, which is exactly how Germany scored their penalty. It's exactly how they did it. They drew everyone over in a one-on-one contest, and when you lose one, another guy has to come to back you up, which means that there's room over on the other side.
Well, it's no games for granted basically in this World Cup. That's what we hear. We can't assume any team is better than the another. Just gonna have to play the game.
It's good football by both teams.
It is.
It really is. Like, do they win the World Cup? You got to say that Japan has as much chance as Germany, because that's what we're looking at. We're looking at Japan playing Germany, and it's an even game. So, will Germany win the World Cup on the basis of this? No chance.
No way.
No way.
If they're going to win the World Cup, you have to say, is Japan going to win the World Cup?
Well, the Germans have just put on more attacking players into the midfield to try to get the game.
Yeah,
so
like
we might see something different from Germany now.
We might.
Whole super changes.
We might, but the Japanese are still there. They're still biting at the. They're still snapping at the heels. They're waiting for a mistake.
Could go either way, this one.
Yeah, they're waiting for a mistake. Japan's waiting for a mistake. And to be honest, Germany might make that mistake. They made the mistake before. And Japan scored. So why the hell can't they do it again? They just got to keep going. Keep doing the exact same thing. It's two even teams playing similar football. That's what it is. And it's absolute total credit to Japan. Total credit to Japan.
Yeah, they're doing really well. I mean, for a lot of this game, they've kind of bit into the cosh, weren't they? But they've really, managed to survive competitive later in the game.
It's actually apparent when you just look at the players on the pitch. The physical attributes of the German players is so much greater. But they haven't used their size. They haven't used their strength. They haven't done anything like that. And all the Japanese team have done is they've just been quicker, won the first ball, won the second ball. They've been there waiting for that one chance.
I mean, in terms of numbers, right? You can see Germans are really rattled at this moment. A little bit when they're chasing the ball. They don't look very confident chasing after the ball. But yeah. Japan only had 3 shots on goal on target, and they got 1 out of that. And Germany only had 9, 8 or 9, I'm counting. So their strike rate efficiency is just really quite low. And it's a 1 out of 3 and 1 out of 9. So you can see the difference between the two teams.
Yeah,
so I'm hoping Japan can score more goals if they can, get in the box.
Is there a goal though? Is there another goal in this game? Because
I've got a feeling there is.
2 goals have been kind of hard worked. Although in saying that, in the 10 minutes before the goals, there was a lot of chances. Germany had chances, Japan had chances. The keepers were doing brilliantly.
There's something happening.
Hold on.
Yeah. I won't say anything, but You're gonna be surprised.
It's a German free kick.
Japan has scored another one. So Japan are winning 2-1.
Okay.
Hold on.
Okay, let's find out what it looks like.
Hold on. All right. So he goes in, wins the first ball, right? Makes it a contest, wins the second ball, right? Free kick in 10 yards inside the half. And he doesn't stay down, he gets up.
Exactly.
Well done.
Yeah, rattle.
He doesn't stay down, he gets up.
Yeah, another
No,
nice goal, I have to say.
I'm at 82-22, so I'm probably behind all of you. I can see the guy without his shirt there. There's a Japanese guy after taking his shirt off. He's going to be stoned when he goes back to Japan.
The name is Kagawachu. Okay.
There's the touch. Whoa!
That's it.
How did he do that? Why was he let do that? Why did the defender let him do that? Why was he allowed to do that?
Oh, yeah, that's crazy. That's kind of rude one,
That's
isn't it?
error. That's schoolboy error. That is a schoolboy
Yeah,
error.
I mean, that kind of goal is very rare to see, isn't it? Just like very route one. Yeah. But,
Well, he didn't anticipate him running in. That's the thing.
He got bullied.
Goal. He didn't
Got bullied by
anticipate.
a midget.
The German defense.
What's happening? It's not having a giant. That's David and Goliath there. That's David and Goliath. David just had to running up underneath Goliath and going, no. I'm just gonna slingshot this. Just gonna slingshot.
The German they didn't see him. What it is.
He's gone. Rudiger, what are you doing? And then the right back or the left back is coming back, and then he pushes him in the back, and he's just what? That's a brilliant goal, and that's exactly what it is. It's David and Goliath. The young lad, the young Japanese guy, he got in front of the German defender, so the German defender couldn't challenge him, and he scored, and it was a great goal.
Well, he had a swipe at his arm to grab it.
No. That's fair. Everything there was fair. He held off a bigger man by his body position. Where he put his body was correct. Like the shape of his body going in against that defender. That's how he did it.
I think one of the things that you find about Japanese players is that they're a lot more stronger than they were back in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah. But it also goes to show that if you have good technique in soccer, it kind of supersedes physical strength. I know the game is very physical now, but if you have technical ability and you have the ability to do something like that, like just hold off a bigger guy and get a shot away, you'll go a long way in football. Like technical ability is key.
You're going to comment here also in the Footy fans group. Neuer was shocking, and the commentators haven't said anything about it.
Neuer was brutal, right? But what do you want Neuer to do? Do you want Neuer to come out and do you want him to take a step out of the goal, which means that one touch takes a passing, right? So Neuer comes out, one touch takes a passing, and it's still a goal, right? Or Neuer touches the defender, and it's still a goal, right? There's a defender there. He thinks the defender is making the challenge, so Neuer can't come out, and then the actual skill to get that ball and drive it high into the near post. That's it. That's what you want. That's a striker's goal. Like, if you can do that, you're going to score against every keeper in the world. If you can do that, you're going to score against every keeper in the world. Neuer didn't do a whole lot wrong. He didn't do a whole lot wrong.
You can't be too hard on Neuer because he did what a classic goalkeeper would do. You cut the angle down and hope that you can block the shot. Because if he came out too early, he creates more gap for shooting.
He might have been a step too far back. He might have been a step too far back, but you're really nitpicking. You're really nitpicking there. He's Manuel Neuer. He's a better goalkeeper than you.
Yeah. Well, I think most keepers will do the same. Coming out too early, coming out too late. It's a hard decision. It's a tough one to come out. When do you come out? And you got to let defender chase him. But they didn't expect him to nail that shot. That is a cracker.
Absolute belter. A belter of a shot. And he held off the bigger man so well that he knew that the defender couldn't get to the ball as long as he stayed goal side of the left back. As long as he stayed goal side of the left back, he couldn't challenge. He actually couldn't challenge. Exactly. There is massive shades of goal. Massive shades of goal. And that's also a great goal. Massive.
Now you've got a long memory, Eric.
No, that's only a couple of years ago that we bet Germany. It's only a couple of years ago. We bet Germany 1-0. Wait a second. Wait, no. Wait. Was that not a penalty?
Wait. VAR will coach. No, there's no VAR. No.
Was that not a penalty?
No. It looked like he did a balloon.
Hold on. Right, here's a little lad. Here's a little lad with the body shape. Right, body shape is perfect. Body shape didn't show it.
No, but it looked a bit like a ballerina kind of triple over dancing. It doesn't really look like.
Yeah, like the guy who scored that goal, who went in and controlled it. Like, he was fine there. What we saw, and then we saw him pass the ball off. I don't know what happened on the ball on that pass though. It looked like a penalty to me. It did look like a penalty to me.
It got a slight clip, but it wasn't like justified to get a penalty.
Doesn't matter whether it's a slight clip, a no clip, and any clip. If there's any contact, it's a penalty. And that's the rule. Like, regardless of whether you like it or not, that's the rules of football.
So I suppose the next key question is how much injury time are we going to have? So we're coming up to about 10 minutes now. Is it going to be that long? But I suppose
I think it's going to be 10 minutes.
We've had like very long extra times. I mean, how much extra time did we have in that England-Qatar game?
40? Was it?
Yeah.
It was the Saudi game that has 40, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think the first half had about 14 minutes.
And then the second half had 20 minutes or something. Oh, no. The second half had 15 minutes. It was a half an hour. It was 30 minutes. It was 30 minutes all told of extra time. So injury time amounted to extra time.
Yeah. What you didn't see on the footage was the Japanese coach did a 100-meter sprint just to complain.
You know damn well he did.
Because like somebody distracted is like that Japanese coach could be on the pitch, you know.
It reminds me of do you remember Mourinho, Chelsea vs PSG, like 5-6 years ago when Dembaba scores the goal. It's like Mourinho like sprints like it's like Usain Bolt, you know.
Yeah.
It just remind me of this just now, like the way the Japanese coach like sprinted just to complain.
Hey, penalty! He's running up to the linesman, and the linesman's doing his job. He's just like, go away from me, you weird. It did look like a penalty, though. It did look like a penalty. It really did. I'm sure Match of the Day will have that. They'll show that again. Like they'll show the contact or whatever, if there was any contact. But it definitely looks like a penalty to me. If I was the referee, I would have given that penalty.
Yeah.
I think the thing is the player didn't milk it enough. That's what it is.
Yeah, I think so. Because I think Brazil win that because Neymar does 10 rolls.
Exactly. Exactly. Neymar or any of them, Ronaldinho, they'll do 11 rolls. Just for the record, the Japanese gaffer's wearing a suit.
Yeah. He was really funny when he was running up to the linesman. Did you see him running up to the linesman?
That'd be a Monty Python sketch.
He really was doing the 100-meter sprint.
Yes.
Oh, they're away! They're away! What are you doing? Why did you slow down?
Okay. His hands are up.
All right, okay.
Of course, with the contentious, it may be like a penalty appeal.
Okay.
Let's see what happens here. Maybe it's going to go to a VAR. To me, it kind of looks a bit like a dive. It's like a proper Klinsmann dive, but I don't think it's been given.
Hold on. We'll see. Because I'm going to see this in real time. I'm going to see this in real time here. So there's a header on. There's nothing going on. It's in the corner. Young lad crosses. That looked like a fair challenge for the ball. I'm not sure if he got that ball. But I think that ball was in between the two of them, and I think they both went for it. I think that ball was in between both players. I think they both went for it with the intention of playing that ball. So that's not a penalty. It's not a penalty because the intent is equal. Intent is equal.
But I think that the way he went down looked a little bit too theatrical as well.
Yeah.
I think they're going to fall for that.
The way the angles are.
Right on the edge. It's right on the edge. If the Japanese had been 6 inches further forward, then it would have been a free to him. If it was 6 inches further back, it would be a penalty. But they were right there. It's not a penalty.
No. Well, what this tells us is the England game against Wales or USA is not guaranteed because they're hungry to win. And towards the second half, the Welsh did really well. If you watch the Welsh game,
the Americans are the second best team in that group. The Americans will be disappointed that they didn't beat Wales because they're a better team than Wales. They're a much better team than Wales, and Wales should count themselves very lucky that they got anything at all against them. Because Wales is a team of... Wales doesn't have a whole lot of cohesiveness outside of defending. So all they can really do is try to defend with numbers and hope that the other team doesn't have a quality player to do something that they don't expect. Like... Goretzka nearly did.
Maybe Gareth Bale can win them a goal.
Yeah, and then Gareth Bale win them a goal. Yeah, or Ramsey hit into the box late. Your man Kiefer Moore is pretty good. Kiefer Moore is a big target man, big lump. And if you're going to defend a lot, you just launch it, and it's going to be a long ball game from Wales. And if they have Kiefer Moore up there, he might hold it up. Bale might nick you a goal.
Germany just missed a sitter behind. We just saw Germany miss a sitter. They could have equalized just now.
They just had a big chance with Goretzka there.
Yeah, exactly. A huge chance. Could have volleyed that one. But they don't have that attacking midfield player that can score goals consistently.
I've got one or two questions on the live stream.
That's why I think the World Cup is going to be defined by attacking players. I think it's going to be defined by players that can score goals. And the teams that have players that can score goals are England, France, and Brazil. Okay, because they have multiple players who score goals. So Saka's good for a goal, Sterling's good for a goal, Kane's good for a goal, Foden is good for a goal, and then Brazil are the same. They've got 5-6 players that can score a goal, and France, they have 4 or 5 players who can score a goal. And I think it's going to be between one of those 3 teams because I think they have more opportunity to break down a defensive team.
But
yeah, I'm watching it.
Yeah,
Manuel Neuer's up here for a free kick. Manuel Neuer's up here for a free kick, and I don't know what is going to go on.
Ready?
It'd be cool if he scored.
Free kick.
You know?
Ready? You can hear.
I'm not looking at your screen.
Okay,
I'm not looking at yours, James.
sorry,
No.
come on.
Yeah,
No,
so
no.
this is
I'm not listening to you. Not
Let's
listening.
watch it on my screen.
No. Okay. La.
So they're going to go for something
Let's have a look.
like a set piece.
Over.
Is it?
Wow.
Oh,
I just saw it on your screen again there, James.
So I think this
Yeah, that's good defending.
that's
He
good.
celebrated like he just won the World Cup. And there's 6 of them down. Crap!
Okay, yeah. Japan, very well played.
Okay. I mean, the defender tracked him really well, and he just followed him. He wasn't ball watching. He just blocked.
Just did his job.
That's
It
it.
was great defending. Really was
Someone
great defending.
took a knock as well. It was quite a lot of elbows and heads hitting around. That middle pack got like a rugby pack match.
Yeah, so
That little goalkeeper, man. That Japanese goalkeeper, he's brilliant. Brilliant. He's had an amazing game here today. And the only time the Germans have beaten him is by a penalty. And I know he gave away the penalty. I know he shouldn't have made that challenge. But everything else that he did in that game was brilliant. It was perfect. That goalkeeper is the man of the match. He's the man of the match by miles.
I thought they kind of looked out of it in that first half, but they really did well to survive.
Yeah.
And then, the second half particularly, they really held it together very well and had some nice moves.
Once the second half hit, it was like Japan. They found the rhythm. They got comfortable. They knew where the spaces were. They knew where Germany was going to be playing. And Germany broke them down a couple of times. Yeah, they had a few shots, but the guy that kept them in that game when Germany had their spells of dominance was that goalkeeper. And when they got a chance to score, they did. And they could have got more.
Okay. I'm going to add a bit more to that. Lads. First thing, they only had 26% of the possession, but
don't need possession.
They scrapped 14
possession
fouls.
is a rubbish statistic. It's a rubbish statistic.
But the most interesting one is they got 4 out of 12 attempts.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
That's
but sure. But you only need one. You only need one.
Yeah, I mean, I've got some interesting stats for you here. This is just on the football app. So Germany 74% possession, Japan 26. Germany 26 shots, Japan 12.
Yeah.
Yeah, Germany 9 on target, Japan 4 on target. Yeah, so a very good showing from Japan. So yeah, they were under the cosh, but I'm very impressed. But
Yeah,
how did it come through?
In the midfield, they were snapping at them all the way through, and that's where those things are coming in. Just snapping. They couldn't think
How
for a
about this
moment.
one as well, lad? If you look at it in terms of passing, so Germany had 771 passes, Japan only 270. Yeah, that stat is amazing.
Yeah. But sometimes that's better. Because if you're only going to get the ball a third of the time, right? If you're only going to get the ball 25%, 30% of the time, then you gotta make the most of it. You gotta say, right, you gotta assess the situation, look at the pitch and say, right, where is the contest, where is the position where we can do the most damage? What's the most efficient way of attacking? Like, because the team that doesn't have possession, they can't mess around and start taking pot shots. They've got to go, no, we're going to put the ball in behind the defense, and then we're going to try and get runners from midfield, or we're going to put the ball over behind the what do you call it, Rudiger, and make it a one-on-one with the left back, which is what they did, right? And they had to be efficient. Whereas Germany, what was the plan? What was the plan? Where were they getting goals? They might have had 26 shots. But what was the plan?
Yeah.
Yeah,
They could have played for 3 hours. They
Yeah.
wouldn't have won this game, I think.
Yeah, the one time they did something good, like we were saying in the first half, there's nobody in the box. There's nobody in the box. You're not going to score a goal if there's nobody in the box. The one time that I said that, then they got people in the box and they got a penalty. They didn't do that again.
But one of the things that I found about the German back four, around number 3, he was really sluggish to catching the runners. He couldn't keep up with the pace of Japanese runners and the wingman.
Yeah, that's true.
And in the whole game, he was just chasing the ball when Japan was attacking them.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not impressed by Germany. Like, overall, are they a better team than Japan? Yeah, they are. But are they going to win the World Cup if they can lose a match like that? No, they're not going to win the World Cup because somebody, somewhere, one of the other big teams will say to themselves, we can score a goal against Germany if we do this. And then they will do it. And then they'll lose.
Gab,
Yeah.
what's your impression of the Japanese team? Who's your best player?
I wouldn't be able to say who's the goalkeeper, obviously. It reminded me a lot of the game I saw. Was it yesterday or the day before yesterday? Saudi Arabia.
Yes.
It's like it reminded me the same kind of game. It's like a smaller team, but so motivated. So well prepared for this
goalkeeper's
event.
Gonda. The goalkeeper's
And the goalkeeper is on fire. The goalkeeper is having the best day of his life. It really reminded me of this same kind of game. I had the same impression that I knew like Saudi Arabia was going to win, and I kind of knew that Japan. I mean, at least for me, it was sure that Germany was not going to win because it's the same exact Germany as 4 years ago. I don't know if you remember the same impression. Like they can play for 3 hours. They're not gonna score a goal. It's like they're really lacking like talents. Like I don't know. It's like something changed after 2014. It's not the same Germany anymore. It's not like they are lacking creativity. They look very. It's like they lost their self-confidence. I think they're very hesitant. A lot of pass backward towards New Year. I don't know. It's.
Yeah, and I do agree with Hang Chua, like in the comments as well. I mean, they kind of lack the flair that they had in 2004 in Brazil.
Yeah, exactly.
They had players like that. So a lot of flair players with a lot of creativity. So I kind of felt that was something that they really lacked today. Anyway, before we finish, guys, we had a couple of questions, just from the WeChat comments. So the first one is, are you guys staying up for the Belgium-Canada game tonight? So this is the one at 3 a.m.
No.
Belgium against Canada.
3 a.m.
3 a.m.
I'll make a prediction.
Yeah,
6-0 to Belgium. 6-0.
You're being
It could be a painful one.
4-1. Let's have a consolation goal. 4-1.
Yeah, I think it'd be something like that. Yeah. Also, another
If
comment.
Canada get anything out of that, it's not worth staying up for. I'm telling you.
Also, as well, on our chat's live stream, we have a lot of Chinese viewers nationally. So, just wondering as well if you want to say a quick word for them in Chinese. 所以我就是想给我们是国内的观众的打个招呼，我是来自就是英格兰的詹姆斯，我是你们今天的主播，我就是想向我们国内的观众表示衷心的感谢。然后我们这个系列就是詹姆斯看球，我们在此次世界杯的过程当中，我们要多次进行就是说现场直播，非常欢迎我们的中国国内的观众继续关注。非常感谢。Do we have any? Can you guys say something in Chinese for our WeChat audience?
Owen, you want to go first, sir?
No, we'll let Gav go first.
Let Gav
We'll let Gav go first.
I think like Gab, you're quite good at Chinese, aren't you?
I'm okay. but
Oh,
I'm not,
yeah,
I'm-
okay, okay.
He's good.
Well, I don't know what to say, but yeah.
Yeah.
Just like, introduce yourself. Like, it's like,
好 ，OK， 大家好，我法语名字叫 Gab， 我中文名字叫钱俊焕，我是在重庆已经有快10年了，还能说什么？我是一个法国的球迷，所以每一个世界杯我会特别的兴奋，还能说什么呢？
那非常感谢你给我们的评论。那我知道 Zack 在重庆生活1年，也接近10年。然后知道他给我们讲一句中文应该没有问题吧？
晚上好，我叫 Mr. Zack，今天我看了踢足球，我觉得这好看，我很喜欢跑步是Gab 老师我是跑步老师，我也去跑步，但是我也知道Owen and James 都有朋友们。
对啊，是我们认识比较久，然后之前是我和 Zack 经常打壁球，但是我觉得可能由于我年龄稍微大了一点，我觉得我打球之后恢复的时间有点长，所以我们最近都没怎么玩这项运动。但是我知道 Zack 跑步也特别的厉害，就说 Zack 也跑了就是几次的半程的马拉松，其中也包括冲马，还有璧山。去年的璧山半程马拉松，所以他跑步特别的优秀。So, Owen, do you have a final word you would like to say?
你们好，我叫 Owen，我的中文名字叫郝勇，我在重庆差不多12年，但是我在我以前我在万州重庆，在那边10年。在重庆2年，我来自爱尔兰，我来自爱尔兰，所以我不管谁赢这个世界杯，我不在乎，我就不要英国赢了，我就不要英国赢了就好了，然后so 我 No.
Okay, well done, guys. Well done. Okay, so we're going to bring today's live stream to an end now. So we've had a really good game, and I think it's been like a fascinating game for us to watch. I also want to thank Owen, Zack, and Gab for their fantastic inputs. And also, in the next few days, we're going to be having another live stream to follow a game live on iChongqing. So in the group, if you're interested in taking part today, please feel free to let me know, and I can bring you in for a future game. And also for our Chinese audience, 非常感谢我们中国的观众，希望以后是会在世界杯期间会继续关注。Okay, so should we say good night, gentlemen?
Goodbye.
Good night.
Okay, yeah, that's it. It's been a pleasure. And also, thank you very much to our audience on WeChat and also on YouTube and our other iChongqing media platforms for all of your comments. And I'll be seeing you again very soon in the next few days. So, to our gentlemen here and to our audience, it's good night from here in Chongqing.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night.
Sleep
Bye.
well.
Thank you,
Sleep
James.
well.
See you guys.
Thank you. See you again.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And take care.